3. Well, the first one went better. I don't know. Well, great. You'll notice some props on the table. Please don't let them distract you until later in the program. We expect them to distract you quite a bit. So thanks for showing up. New ways to learn and why you should care is the session this morning. I talked about with Aaron yesterday the way you show up in the world, right? Your attitude drives or determines your direction. How you show up and the attitude that you possess, the attitude that you come across with, that determines how the direction through the day, for example. So if you came in here and you're like, my boss said I had to go, you're probably not going to learn a whole lot, right? The attitude isn't quite where it needs to be to open up that learning for yourself. So your attitude and how you approach things certainly will enable the learning neurons or whatever the brain stuff is. I was a math major. The brain stuff is cool and all, but
there's a radio or something going on here.
that's Brett. Where are you?
He's trying to figure out what's going on.
Okay.
Is that next door though?
We want the people here to
Okay. So your attitude determines your direction. On your tables, there is a little bit of a survey. Let's see, what does it look like? Did you guys not get one? It looks like this.
If you don't have one, let us know.
Yeah, raise your hand if you don't have one. You got extra. So we want you to take a little bit, a couple minutes here. Yeah, to answer some of these questions. This keeps going in and out.
I know.
You guys are like, yay! You want to tee it up? So take a few minutes. Apparently, it only works when I'm right here, so I won't move. So take a few minutes to fill out this survey, reflect on yourself, how you might answer those questions, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a reflection on how you might approach learning. So just a few minutes to do that on your own. Some of you are in deep thought. Cool. When you're done, what I would like for you to do is just kind of fold that in half. We're going to come back to it here a little bit. So just real quick, I've introduced myself a few times, but those of you that this is your first session, if this is your first time, Chris Dunn, one of the Agile coaches. I reside in Parker, Colorado, and work out of the Highlands Ranch office. I've been an Agilist for over a decade, and I think part of my Agile career, I very much had an Agile mindset. Didn't realize it until I learned a little bit about it, but before I became a certified Scrum Master. But I've been with Nelnet for a little over 7 years now, and I'm not going to brag about myself, but that's about it. That's me. Good to see you all. Hi, again. And then my co-presenter today.
Hi, I'm Terry Alley, and I'm a Scrum Master in the Highlands Ranch office. And I've been with Nelnet for a little over 2 years now, and I've been working in the Agile space for a little over 10 years.
And so Terry and I went to the Agile Alliance Conference, it was last year, and we, went into this session. They had loud music, kind of like, it was way louder than what we had going on here, but I mean, it just drew you in. I had no desire to go to that, but there's something about the energy of that room. It was really cool, and they shared a lot of the stuff about learning and different ways to approach learning and how to make learning stick. And so because both of us are lifelong learners, or just eager to learn new things and kind of add new tools to the toolkit, if you will. There we go. Apparently I hit it. I can do this all day. You're like, please. So the session we kind of stole from what these guys did. It was a lot of fun, but it requires a lot of energy from your part, so high participation. We're going to go through some stuff today, and then we're going to have a couple different activities where you get to play, okay? So that's what it's all about. It's about learning, it's about playing while we learn. So, as you guys know, I do a lot of research from take a lot of research from Dilbert, right? And how many of you have been to a training where you show up and you're really excited to go to the training, and something that you're maybe passionate about, maybe your boss sent you and you're like, kind of like getting to the attitude thing, right? But you go to this training, maybe your eyes wide open, you're total sponge, but like Dilbert here, I don't know what that guy's name is. Anybody know what that guy's name is? The little dude? I'm back from training, I got a big binder. He shows off to his boss. Says the training is already forgotten, but the binder will last forever. A living monument to temporary knowledge, right? So how many have been at trainings like that, right? Whether it be elementary, maybe not elementary school, but maybe high school, college, post-college education, professional development. I mean, some of it's better than others, right? I mean, there's no question, and sometimes it's the instructor, sometimes it's how they approach the learning or the teaching, right? Of those experiences that you have had, what was the differentiator from really good to just, meh, I got a cool binder? What was the differentiator for you? Just throw them out. Don't raise your hand. Just throw them out.
The instructor's enthusiasm of the topic.
Yeah, enthusiasm had something to do with it. Interactive. Yeah, you're just not sitting there listening, right? Direct application to what you're doing.
Pertinent to what I was doing or what I'm interested in.
Yeah, there's an interest, certainly.
How soon you can use it, what you learn.
Yeah.
Passion of the instructor?
Passion of the instructor. Yeah, some of that's getting into the attitude, not only from the learner, but from the instructor or the teacher. Yeah. So a lot of different techniques that they might use. Are there different techniques that you've encountered in your life from learning where some were better than others? Do you remember any?
Hands-on.
Hands-on? Yeah.
Reading from the instructor manual doesn't work as well.
Yeah, so if I stood up here the whole time and went, great, probably not great. Good information certainly, but maybe not really engaging. So yes, we'll talk about some of these things as we go through, but we'll talk about some of the new ways of learning.
So, did you skip one?
No.
So why is learning so important? Especially today, in today's world of technology where information changes and doubles actually worldwide every couple of years. So it's really important to stay up on learning, not only as an employee, but on your personal growth. How many times have you guys had to teach yourself how to use your cell phone once a new upgrade comes in? So I mean, it's not only business, it's personal. So it's really important to stay up on learning and educate yourself and have a good attitude towards that, because once you have a good attitude, if you do have a good attitude, it's easier to, I think it's the next slide. positive attitude enables you to relax and focus and absorb the information a little bit better. But like Chris said, if you walk in and you're like begrudgingly, oh, I have to go to this training, but if you have a really good attitude, then you're open and then you absorb the information a little easier. And then when that interest is there, then hope increases and your confidence level increases.
So we hinted that we might come back to those surveys that you took. So when you look at those surveys, did anything come up for you as you went through that? Anything? Bueller?
So just take a look, if you left anything on that sheet unmarked, did anyone leave anything? I mean, you don't have to.
Yeah.
One or two, maybe?
You had one? Bragger.
So for anything that you didn't check off, think of 2 steps you could take right now, today, to increase your your attitude toward learning. And what would that be? It's all about that self-growth, right? So, and what can you do right now to flip that and get that check mark? Okay.
Yeah, it's all about improving, how you approach learning, how you look at learning, kind of leveraging some of the stuff that we talked about in previous sessions. What steps can you take in order to improve yourself? Owner versus renter concept. You own your life, so do it. So own it, right? All right. So that's kind of a self-reflective little activity. It's certainly kind of my encouragement to you guys would be, as you think through those things, and you're going to encounter, some of us are brand new to Agile, for example, right? And so there's a level of learning that's required to be really good at it. And I believe it's a lifelong journey for each and every one of us. I've been doing this over 10 years, and I still learn things even when I go to foundational classes. But it's because I am open to it. I am looking for what new learning can I have from this. Is my knowledge getting a little bit stale? So be open to that regardless of level of where you're at on the scale and the level of the learning that it might be. So for example, I go to these conferences and sometimes they break them up from like beginner level to advanced or practicing. A lot of times is how they do that. But sometimes I'll go to the beginner ones because the topic is very interesting to me, and I will sit down at a table with a group of people that I've never met in my life, but we are learning from each other regardless of the level of where we're at. But that requires my attitude to be in the right place. I come in and go, I'm kind of I know this stuff, right? I'm probably not going to pick up a whole lot from that session, okay? So be open. And use this little survey as it helps. So let's talk about how we learn. I kind of hinted at that a little bit with maybe traditional learning methods. But if you look at a traditional classroom, it's the rows and columns of desks and the teacher in the front, and just like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and Bueller, and it's there's some learning, yes. It's probably not one that you will remember when you grow up and you sit in a conference or a session like this, and somebody asks you, that's probably not the one that you're going to say, that I remember that one was really good, right? You might remember that I had a hard time staying awake. I picked up something, I think, but it's not to say that those methods are awful, but there are other methods to consider when you learn. And so we're going to talk about the 6 trumps, and it's really around the brain science and what goes on biologically for you as you learn. So we're going to talk about a few of those, few ways to approach learning that might be different from traditional, and with the intent of making the learning stick, okay? So that it's lifelong, not just that temporary knowledge binder that you receive from, you pay $1,500 to get a 300-page binder, right? That's pretty cool. So, moving trumps sitting. Science tells us that after about 15, 20 minutes, as you sit, like you guys are right now, nothing wrong with it, not asking you to move yet, you will, is that the oxygen in your brain just kind of gets depleted, it's flowing in the wrong direction, and so our ability to learn and think clearly isn't what it should be, right? It isn't at full capacity. So again, you are still learning some things, but maybe not at full capacity. So moving allows, it starts to pump oxygen back up to the brain, allows us to learn at a much better capacity. And so as you develop, if you develop any curriculum, if you're doing any lunch and learns or things like that, look at 10 to 20 minute chunks to try to get some movement in people so that they can re-engage and learn at their best, okay? So movement trumps sitting. Talking trumps listening. When learners discuss what they've learned, they've processed it 3 times. They first listen to it, they think about it, and then they restate it, right? How many of you heard that teaching something is the best way to learn something, right? So even if you're a novice at it, but if you start to engage in it and you teach someone else, boy, that really sticks, right? So it's kind of that concept, but you're processing it 3 times, which is the point here. Talking trumps listening. Images trump words. Our brain has an incredible capacity to process images, way more than words, right? And I've seen an exercise where they might flash a visual, this scene. And if you were to look at the scene and sit down and take notes and jot down a bunch of descriptions of it, maybe you come up with 30 different things, right? And so they'll take that and put it on a slide and they'll flash it for a split second, right? They'll flash the words and ask the audience, how many words did you get? And an audience like this, they might come up with 5 or 10, maybe. But if you flash an image that would be the essence of those words, the room would probably capture just about all of it, right? Our minds have an innate ability to process images, and it seems limitless. Writing trumps reading. Many of you, how many of you out there are taking notes? Right? So if I just gave you a slide deck with words, and you read it, that might be okay. You might retain some of that. I read, and it's like I never read it, right? It just, part of that's my attention span, as you can imagine. But when you write it, it's almost as if it locks it in, for at least me, and I think a lot of people. It's multi-sensory, it's kinesthetic, it's visual spatial, and it's tactile, right? So that's for me, I'm not here. Shorter trumps longer. Divide the learning into smaller chunks. If I talk about a topic for an hour and a half, probably after about 20 minutes, I've lost you, if not sooner. It's been 20 minutes. Are you still with me? Right? So, for example, how do you remember phone numbers? It's a 10-digit number, right? Most of us learn it or remember phone numbers by 3 chunks of numbers. Area code, the first 3, and the last 4 is typically how we remember it. We don't remember the sequence necessarily, we remember those in that order, right? So shorter trumps longer. And then last but not least is different trumps same. I use the example of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and the instructor going, Bueller, Bueller, Bueller. He's lost his students, right? And it's always the same. And so change the learning environment, and what happens in the brain is that you eventually just kind of shut down because you have an expectation that, oh, I know what's going to happen, and so you get a little bit lazy with paying attention, right? I get it. I know what's going to happen. He's going to stand there and talk for another 20 minutes. Right? So inject some changes into that learning environment, even if it's something as simple as, having the whole room, you guys move over here, and by doing so, I've changed your perspective. It's a little weird little trick, but I've totally changed your perspective. The learning is a little bit different for you. And I also did movement from sitting, right? So I got some oxygen back in the brain. So I might do things like that as I teach a few workshops or something of that nature. So the 6 trumps, those are just different ways to approach learning, maybe a little bit different from traditional methods. So when I asked the question earlier about some of those learnings that you remember, the ones that were really good, the ones that even today, even if it was 15 years ago, you still kind of locked into, I'm guessing that some of these trumps were present for them. Now, they didn't have a name for it necessarily, but I'm guessing some of that was present. So, we're going to do a little activity.
So what have you learned so far? What we'd like you to do is take a blank sheet of paper and write down 2 things that you've learned in this session that's letting go on a little over 20 minutes. And make sure it's something that you're okay with sharing, like you don't want to say something bad about Chris's jokes, or maybe you do, I don't know. But it may be shared with others, so make sure it's something that you can share. But 2 things that you've learned so far just in this session.
This session, or the seminars too.
Just this session.
How are you doing?
Anyone need more time?
I mean, you. You guys ready for the next step?
Anyone need more time? Good?
That was the hard part.
So we're going to do a little activity where we're going to incorporate some of the trumps that Chris just talked about.
So before you do anything, let's go through the rules. All right? So it gets really loud when you guys do anything. Not yet. But we're going to ask you to stand up. And then we're going to ask you to make eye contact with someone that's at least 6 feet apart from you, 6 feet away from you, maybe 10 feet. Don't do it across the room, trust me. Okay? And then we're going to ask you to pull that piece of paper up that you just wrote on. Not because we don't care. Don't do it yet. We have intention here. Trust me. All right. I'll give you the last rule. So once you make eye contact with that individual, you're going to... Should I tell them?
We're going to have a mini snowball fight.
Oh, we're going to have a snowball fight. So you're going to toss it to your partner. And then we're going to have you find another partner. And we're going to have you toss it again. And so we want to exchange it 2, maybe 3 times. We'll see how this goes. Don't sing it. Don't put, like I did when I was a kid with my brothers, put like rocks in the snowball. Don't do that. It's not cool. It's not cool. That's what my running career is. Okay, so you guys ready for this? You guys ready for this? All right. Find a partner. They got We've already started. Go for it. Toss it to another person. Find another partner. Find another partner. All right. All right. All right, that's it. That's it. Okay.
Okay, everyone needs to end up with a ball of paper.
Does everyone have a piece of paper? Okay. Stop throwing. Come on, children.
So what you want to do is open up that ball of paper and read what someone else wrote. Hopefully you don't just send one back, but some people did on the kind of grant. And find something interesting. And if you can share, if you think there was something interesting on the paper, or if you had the same thing, wrote down the same thing, anyone want to share?
Yeah, you guys can see. Sit. Be seated.
You can sit down. About that option.
So who's got something good to share? Yeah.
I should have been taking notes.
Anything interesting from your paper that you see?
Yeah.
After about 20 minutes, your learning decreases.
Yeah. Cool. What else? Yeah, a little bit off, but yeah. Blank. Yeah. Impressive.
So that was that for the first 20 minutes.
Yeah. Wow. Good. Back here.
Movement trumps sitting.
Movement Trump sitting.
I can't focus with laser lights and sound issues.
Oh. I have a hard time too. The laser lights are cool. Yeah.
So that, what did it demonstrate? Do you remember from what Chris talked about with the 6 trumps? Oh. What was one of the things we just did as far as the trumps?
Movement Trump sitting, yeah.
Writing trumps reading? Yes. Yeah?
Also, different Trump saying.
Yep, that's it.
Right? How many of you have done a snowball fight in a learning session? Right? So, yeah, we're trying to demonstrate as many as possible with this. So hopefully you had a little bit of fun, but not. Nobody get hurt, right? Okay. Anyone get something on there where they're like, were they even here?
Here's a blank piece of paper.
Or was I even awake? Right? I've totally missed that point. Cool. Hopefully that was a good time.
So as you've seen, learning can be fun. You just learn something, you incorporate a little bit of fun into it. And with Chris's and my research, we found an article by Judy Willis in her book, and she's a neurologist and an educator, and one of her quotes was, "The highest level of executive thinking, making of connections, and the aha moments are more likely to occur in an atmosphere of exuberant discovery, where students of all ages retain that kindergarten enthusiasm of embracing each day with the joy of learning."
So, how many of you like performing? Maybe I should clarify. Because I have a feeling some of you went a different direction than I did. Maybe I intended, I'm not gonna lie. But how many of you love to dance, love music? Yeah? I know you do. Yeah. Who went to karaoke last night? Yeah, okay. I'm taking names. Anybody, is karaoke, is there a contest? No? There's no winners or losers, everybody's a loser? Or, no? Everybody's a winner. I mean, everybody's a winner. Cool. So we're gonna do a little bit of, we're gonna practice some of these things here. You'll notice we've got some props on the table. These are to help you get in the mood for the next activity. But what we're going to engage in, folks, you're going to love this. You're going to love this. It's not Mardi Gras. But what we're going to do is we're going to engage in an epic rap battle. We got one out there. You're my dog. All right, so those of you at her table, you're in luck, I think. So we're going to incorporate fun. We're going to incorporate some of these trumps into our learning today. And you'll see on your tables there are, it might be a two-pager, it might be a single page front and back. But there are some props or some helpers on your table. We're going to write a rap. When I say we, I mean all of you. And your rap group is going to be your table. If there's one or two of you, you might want to gather up with others to leverage that creativity across a group. It's going to be an agile rap battle because this is an agile camp, right? So it's going to be agile related. And just to give you some helpers, we've got the Agile Manifesto and the 4 values. That's on your table. You might want to look at being agile versus doing agile. So some other helpers, just some words maybe to get you moving along and think about different things. Or maybe the Scrum or Kanban values is also on the table. Again, these are just helpers to use as guidelines to think about Agile, get your head in the right space as it relates to Agile. Hopefully it already is, if you're here at Agile Camp, but this is just a little bit of a helper for you. So here are the rules. First and foremost, have fun. There's no right or wrong, although I will judge. I'm just saying. Keep it clean and professional, please. I mean, I've had a real hard time with the pirate jokes, but I've done pretty good. Not 100%, but I've done pretty good. So I'm asking you to do the same. We're going to give you about 5 or so minutes to prepare and write. Be creative with your rap. I'm going to put on some music to help you get in the right place, give you a beat. Is that how the kids say it? Give you a beat to work with. And then we're going to allow you to perform. So, you guys got the drill? You know the drill? How many of you heard this was coming? And that's why you're here. You're like, no, if I'd have known, I'd have come at 10. I'm glad you're here. All right, so go ahead and get started. I'll get some music on for you guys.
eyeball.